So it was interesting because my son came home from school one day and apparently he did something that he wasn't supposed to be doing. And his teacher told us that your son did something and it was very not like him. And I went over to him and asked him, like, dude, like, what happened? This isn't like something that you usually do. And although he is very young and you know, kids do things, I asked him, like, it was just like it didn't seem like it was his nature to be doing that. And I asked him, like, what's going on? And he told me that somebody dared him to do something. And I'm like, okay, now we're playing a different game over here. So we have a little peer pressure. We have, you know, somebody daring and challenging him to do something. And it was interesting because so many times I think certain people wouldn't take certain actions, but because of certain social pressures, because of certain expectations that maybe other people have or people are putting on themselves, they end up taking a certain action. And because they have that pressure, it actually allows them to move forward with something that maybe they never wanted to do. And what's interesting is that we need to understand for ourselves also, we have the ability to take certain actions in a way that we might want to be taking actions by having the certain social pressures for ourselves. So, what can we do for ourselves to allow ourselves to take certain actions that we know we should be taking in the first place? And if we can start to put that into perspective and try to figure out, okay, what are the different ideas that I could start to do? Then we have this ability to really start to take the actions that we want. And I want to dare you to do something today. I want to dare you to take that action. I want you to dare you to make that phone call. I want you to dare you to dream about that thing that you know you should be dreaming about. I want to dare you to just put yourself out there in a way that you know you should and you could be doing, and allow yourself to just step into that moment. Because if we can start to recognize that we all have this ability, we all are able to do so much more with our lives, things are going to be totally different. And really, what the biggest thing that stops people is really the fear. And if we can start to work on that fear, if we could try to circumvent it, if we could try to get rid of it, or try to really manage it and be more control of it as opposed to it being in control of us, that can be the thing that can allow us to become successful in the thing that we want to be doing. Because we are so flippin' capable of doing so much. And for some reason, we just hold ourselves back. We know what we should be doing. We know we have the ability. We know if we could stay disciplined, we know if we could stay consistent, then we can really start to see that success. Of course, we all want it to happen tomorrow and it's not going to happen. But I think on deep down like level, we all believe, yeah, if I could just stay consistent with this thing for like 5-7 years, like I'll be fine. But for some reason, we can't get ourselves to do it. We don't see the results right away. We try, we take action, we fall back, all these different things that are happening to us. And if we can start to say to ourselves, hey, you know what? I am very capable. And then maybe there's something that I know I should be doing, maybe something that I know I should just be thinking. And that's the first step. And if we can start to work in that, if we can start to take that action, imagine what our lives will be like. And so many times people don't realize that it's just really the hardest part is starting. Just like when you have a spaceship that goes into space and it uses the most energy in the beginning just to get into orbit. And once it's in orbit, it like barely uses anything. So too with us. We have to realize for ourselves, our own personal growth, our own personal journey, the start is so difficult. Yes, it's going to be worth it at the end, and we're going to be proud of ourselves when we accomplish it. But even if we accomplish it, we're probably going to feel good for just a bit, and then it's going to be on to the next thing. And if we can start to recognize that journey, that part, that quote unquote hard part, the how to part, that's going to be the thing that we're going to need to allow us to move forward. And so many people don't recognize that if we could start to work on these different areas, then we can start to move forward. Then we can start to take the action for our own personal lives and really make things happen. And if we can just realize that, that could be the first part. So how is it that we can take that action? So number one is we have to realize, how can we just trick ourselves into taking that action? Let's dare ourselves. Let's put ourselves out there. Let's pretend we were somebody else for a second. So if you are building your business or if you're trying to work on a relationship, who is that person that you need to be in that moment? Who is that figure that you look up to, who you take advice from, who maybe you listen to their podcast or you see them all the time, or maybe somebody in your own family that you have a lot of respect for? What would that person do? How can we step up and to be that person? Let's pretend to be that person. You know, like when kids, are younger, they're pretending to be different superheroes. So they're literally jumping off the walls. They're doing crazy stunts and whatnot. So as an adult, let's pretend to be somebody else. Who is it that we need to be? How can we build up that courage to take that action? Because action or success is going to happen in spite of the fear, in spite of feeling a certain way, and yet still taking that action. I think if we could start to recognize that and don't expect things to be easy, don't expect it to be comfortable. Even this morning, so it's something so small, but I was really proud of myself about something that I did this morning because it's not something that I usually do. So when I was like in my car and I was trying to pull out of my spot and there was like a lot of traffic. So I'm usually the type of guy, I'm like, okay, let me just wait and like, I'll just wait till all the cars go by and then I'll get out. But there's like a lot of traffic that day. And I was like, you know what, let me push myself a little bit. Let me push the limits for a second and start to see like what I could do. And you know how like some people like open their window and like just like make eye contact or they give like a little bit of a wave. And I'm like, that's like so not me for some reason. And I was like, let me try that today. Let me put myself out there. It's a little uncomfortable for me. I don't know who I'm waving to, which should make it even easier. But for some reason, it's one of those things that for me is very difficult and I'm going to be now working on it just now that I'm sharing this with everybody. But one of the things that I wanted to do is like, let me allow myself to get into that lane. And I like just looked back and I waved at a guy and he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead for it. And I was like, that's awesome. Like it really worked. I saved myself probably like 5-10 minutes just because there were so many cars as opposed to waiting for there to be time. And so many times we don't realize that it's not scarier when we're in our heads. And when we're in our heads, we're usually dead because that's when we start overthinking. That's when we start getting anxious and we start getting stressed. And if we could start to realize what is a thing for us today, what is a small thing, whether we're just waving at some guy to let you into the lane, right? What is something small for you that you can start to do in order to allow yourself to step into the thing that you want to be doing? And if we could start to recognize these different areas and realize that it's going to be scary, you're going to be nervous. Maybe the guy would have given me the finger. Who knows? You know, like there could have been so many different areas or different things that could have happened. And recognizing that, hey, you know what? If I could just put myself out there, if I could just start to be courageous and even be okay with getting rejected, then guess what? We're going to be able to constantly take action. We're going to be doing the things so often and so much that's going to only allow us and help us become more successful. So recognizing that is going to be something that can be huge when it comes to our own personal development, when it comes to the things that we want to be doing, because we all have certain things that we want to be doing. And for whatever reason, we are so scared of taking that action. We are so scared of the result. We're so scared what other people are going to think. We're so scared of failing. And if we could start to say to ourselves, no, I know I could fail. I know that it's going to be scary. I know I might get rejected, but guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take that action anyway. And allow ourselves to sort of get into that state. So who is it that we can be? Who is it that we can become to take that action? And I think once we start to play there, then we have this ability. Okay, what's really happening? How can I do that? And I think our mindset is so important because so many times people don't realize that if we can start to work on our mindset, and it's something so small because, you know, even the example I just gave of me like getting myself into the lane by waving somebody down. It could start with that, but that could end up me like asking some billionaire to, you know, sponsor one of my things that could like help me take off to the next level. So I'm not saying you necessarily have to even go to the billionaire, but if you can, if that's what you want to be dared to do, then go for it. But also recognize for yourself, like, can you be doing something today? Can you be doing something now? Could you do something that could help you grow to become somebody else? And once we do that, once we realize that, then we could really start to step into all the things that we want. So when we're working on our mindset, recognize that it's really the small disciplines that we can start to work on today that can allow us and to help us become more successful. And if we could just realize that, then we could start to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the small action. I'm going to put the number in my phone. I'm going to press send. I'm not going to even judge myself whether the person picks up or not. I'm not going to judge them whether I get the voicemail or not. I'm going to just make that phone call. I'm going to reach out to somebody. I'm going to text somebody because, you know, it's maybe a little more scary for me. So what is it we can start to do to really make sure that thing happens? And if we can start to realize that, then we have this ability to really do the thing that we want. And so many times it is so scary. It is so uncomfortable for ourselves to really put ourselves out there. And if we can start to realize that, then we have so much more availability to really do the thing that we want. And what's interesting is that so many people don't realize this. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he's a gentleman who's been really, really stuck. And what's interesting is that he tried in the past to get support. He tried to get help, and it was interesting because he sort of gave up hope. And I'm like so grateful that I was able to speak to him, just to, even if, you know, we don't even like end up speaking ever again, but just giving him some perspectives, because sometimes we think as individuals that we can do everything ourselves, and we should be doing everything ourselves. Like, I'm in this rut, I should get myself out. I see other people doing the thing that I know I should be doing. Whether it's something like, I don't know, even like something as simple as like doing my own laundry. Like, no, like I should be doing my own laundry. It's like one of the teen things that I say, like, I should do my own laundry instead of like my mom or dad should be doing my laundry. And if we could start to recognize that, if we start to say, hey, you know what are the things that I need to be doing? Who are the people in my life that I need support from? Who is it that I need help from? Because we can't do everything by ourselves. We can do certain things by ourselves, but we can't do everything by ourselves. And if we can start to say, hey, who's that team around me? Who's that a person that I can use as an accountability partner? I have another student who's studying for like an AP right now. And he came over. One of the big ideas that we're going to be working on is he's going to find somebody that he could study with. whether they're going to be studying together or just like side by side and just doing it at the same time, but allowing ourselves to be in a situation where we could start to work and really hold ourselves accountable. It's why people get personal trainers. It's why people get coaches. It's why people get, even therapists in a way. And if we could start to work on ourselves, we could start to say, hey, you know what? We have this ability. We can start to move forward. We can start to really take action based on the thing that we're looking to do. That could be something that could really switch everything around. And so many times people don't realize, but we have the ability to do something more. We have the ability to really take the action. We have the ability to really recognize what we can do if we could get that support, because sometimes we're just stuck. There have been times where I went to my coach and I asked him certain questions and he just asked me a simple question back. And I was like, shoot, that was so easy. Like, how did I miss that? But for some reason, we have such tunnel vision and we can only focus on what we're focusing on. And it's very difficult to see what else is going on. And if we get somebody with an outside perspective to just question us, to see what's going on, is this what we want? Is this not what we want? Then we can start to move really forward in terms of the action that we need, as opposed to wasting weeks or months or maybe even years. We could really shorten that to days. And that's when we can start to make things happen. Because in order to reach a success, there's certain actions that need to be taken. There's amount of action that has to happen in order for you to reach point B. And the quicker we could take that action, then the quicker it is we could get the result. But what happens is so many people get so scared that they get pushed back, or they get so confused, or that it's so unknown to them, and they end up not taking that action. And it takes weeks, and every decision takes 2 or 3 weeks, and then another 2 or 3 weeks, then another 2 or 3 weeks. Then all of a sudden you're in like your third month and you're like, wait a second, I've only done 3 things and it's only been 3 months. This is crazy. What's happening here? And if we can start to move it for ourselves and to recognize for ourselves personally, know we have this ability to really start to move forward, that's going to be the thing that's going to switch. So what is it that we can do? What is it that we can start to make change in our own personal lives to really do the thing that we want? Because we all know we are so capable. We know we have that ability. And what's interesting is that humans have such a capability, but it's usually disappointing in terms of like the action that they really do take. I heard that line from Tony Robbins and I was like, so true. We have so much that we're capable of, but realistically what's going to happen is that people are not going to be able to do it. So if we could start to get that help, if we could start to pretend, who is that person that I want to be like? Who is it that I need to be in the moment? What's the shift I need to have in my mind where I can say to myself, hey, you know what? I'm scared, but in spite of me being scared, I'm going to be okay because of X, Y, and Z. I'm going to still take action in spite of the fear, in spite of me being nervous about the results. I'm going to be bold or courageous in the moment. That is something that we can start to do. That is something that we can start to shift in our own minds in order to allow something bigger to happen. And once we see that, once we have that ability, that the game over. Because then anytime something comes to us, anytime we get scared about something, we have that ability to really start to take that action. So what are those things that are holding you back? What are those different ideas that are holding you back? What are those what are those steps that are holding you back? And if you could start to say, hey, you know what? There's so many different steps here, but really, let's get it on a piece of paper. There's only 7 things I need to be doing. How can I break them down? What is it we can do? We're start reverse engineering your goals to really make these things that we want to be doing capable. Then we could start to see the results that we want. And what we have to realize is also we have to like get ourselves emotionally involved. I know emotions, some people like their emotions, some people don't like their emotions. Well, we have to realize that if we can, I look at emotions as like the booster pack, as the thing that's going to help us move forward, as the thing that's going to really shoot us up ahead. Because at the end of the day, we need to take action regardless of we're emotionally invested or not. But the next thing we need to ask ourselves is how can we emotionally get ourselves invested? Because that's going to only help push us forward. And that is something that is so powerful that we all have the ability to do and start to really work on. So when you ask yourself, what is this thing that I want to be doing? How is it that I can start to take this action? We need to start asking ourselves, how can I emotionally get involved? And so one of the things I start with the why. Why is it that we're doing this thing in the first place? Why is it this thing is happening? Why is it that I want to really be taking action with certain things? Because if we get clear on our why, then we usually get more emotional. We get to the deeper root of what's really going on there. And that could be something that could be really, really powerful for ourselves and for our own personal growth. So when it comes back to the beginning, it comes back to the top. If I had to dare you to do one thing, what would that one thing be? Right? Definitely leave it in the comments below, but what would that one thing be if I needed to dare you to take a certain action, to do something that you know you should be doing? Who's that person you need to reach out to? What's that plan that you need to start? What is that thing on your calendar that you need to put on? Because if we can start to work on that, if we can start to take that one action, we know so many things are going to change. We know that we'll have such an ability to really take that action, to do the thing that we want to be doing. And if we can start to put ourselves in a situation and really start to take action and really start to move forward with the thing that we're looking to do, imagine what could really go on. We all are so much more capable than we think we are. We all have this ability, but all we have to do is we have to start. And if we could start to take that action, if we could start to move forward, we could dare ourselves and emotionally get invested in the beginning. Understand it's going to be nerve-wracking, but you know what? We got to be bold and courageous in the moment. Then guess what? We could start to really step into anything. I really believe we could do so much. And it's really ourselves that are holding ourselves back. And if we can start to get rid of that, then we have that ability to really make something happen. Let me know if you have any questions. Like always, feel free to reach out. Check out the stuff down below, all the different offers that we have, really free content, really free stuff. Check us out on YouTube. And we'll see everybody on the next one.